And then, of course, these media types. Letting you know, I'm showing you this for a reason, I'm coming to this for a reason. I know a lot of you have probably seen these symbols, are familiar with them, but what you're probably not familiar with or haven't thought about too much is the fact that these symbols are being shown to you obviously. Why? Because that is also part of the ritual. Nothing is done that we don't actually know about in some way. We are being told constantly. That's the most important thing to remember. There's a subtextual, occult type of communication happening to you. That makes you part of the ritual. This is how they work. You have one board, but you have black and white squares. You're on that board. You're going to occupy this square or the other. And the elites assume that you are part of their ritual, by the way. Okay, they may treat us like pawns or whatever, but we're still part of the game. This is very important to realize because it's also to do with the retaliation. Once we know that we're part of the game, your movement then becomes very important. How you think becomes more important than you just thinking you're an outsider looking at all of this spectacle. Well, these guys are including you in that ritual, and they're letting you know how it works. Notice the black and white, you see. Symbolism here all the time. And sort of bad boy image. Also, the black tear is a Masonic secret society trope or motif. So this is done to let us know in a way that we're talking to you subtextually, subliminally. It's Karl Rove. Again, it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. The Phoenix, as we said, the Process Church, wasn't it? Had it, no, it was the Hellfire Club, remember? Had changed their name to the Phoenix Society at one point. And there's Chelsea Clinton wearing the inverted pentagram. Not the inverted pentagram, the inverted cross, which is a patently Luciferian symbol. Here's the Star of David. And when we realize who the Davids really were, not as they've been presented in front of us, but what that word really alludes to, is again another code name for atomism. You must know this because otherwise we misinterpret the symbols. When these fellows are posing in front of the so-called Israeli flag and seem to be having this Jewish symbolism, we're misreading it completely. Camp David doesn't refer to the Jews, right? And Jews need to know this too. They're the first who need to be told this, so they're the most confused. They're the most mind-controlled of all, thinking that this is to do with their religion. It has nothing to do with their religion, and they need to be aware of this. These are Davidic symbols that refer to the commanders of Aton, the sun cult, who've committed just as many unspeakable acts of criminality, you see, to the Jewish people as they have to the Gentiles. We have a common foe, a common enemy. But that enemy is smart, it's intelligent, it's cunning, it knows how to work one side against the other or two or three sides against each other. When they're using terms like Zion, you see, and Israel, they know what these terms mean. And as I said, I was showing you these reasons for a point. They're leaving clues to tell us, to involve us in the ritual. And they're going so far nowadays to do this, where they're even making the movies, as we said when we first met in March. They want you to know that now. They want you to literally to know. They want everyone to know that there is this esoteric underpinning to reality. And it's fascinating to see, for me to watch and see how they're doing this. How they're sort of removing the lid. It's just fascinating and why that might be happening and the astrological age we're in and all of this. Almost like taking down the mask, giving us a peek. As JC said, you're peeking now. You're starting to peek, so we have to use the codes. But it's been there in front of us all the time. The clues. Bottom left there you see the symbol of the original Dodge car company. There's the modern one on the right that we all know, which is the symbol of Aries. Aries being the most important house of the zodiac to the Atonists. Anyone who knows about the whole life of Akhenaten and why he came up with Atonism know that it had to do with the movement of the sun between the signs of Taurus and Aries. And this is the movement that caused conflict in Egypt between the groups of priests. And the priests of Heliopolis and Memphis backed Akhenaten, and that's how he was able to create Atonism and do horrors or untold horrors in Egypt. So the ram And all the Aryan symbol pertains directly to the cult of Aton, as does the Star of David, of course. And there you have it in the Egyptian motif with the wings and the Star of David, the Judite connection. The pentagram and the blood circle there for Access Hollywood. Other 3 6s. I'm glad to see people are getting up to speed on that. They're not getting up to speed on what 666 really refers to, by the way. Christians just think it's a sign of Lucifer. First of all, they don't even know what Lucifer is. They have to define that term. What's the difference between Lucifer and Satan? We've done an interview on that on Red Eyes Creations. I've gone into it in the Irish Origins book. 666, very briefly, if you multiply the numbers, it's a triad number. So just from 111, 222, 333, 444, you multiply them and to get one of the meanings, 6 times 6 times 6. You see, 216 becomes a very important number in astrology. These are numbers of the initiates. It's also numbers that are found in the dimensions of the pyramid and the Ark of the Covenant and all of that kind of thing. But this is stylized in so many places. There's a couple of logos that stylize it. Here's how it's done in the Walt Disney logo. And it, in one sense, doesn't really represent anything evil. It just represents something hidden, something occult, something the initiates will understand, sacred knowledge. Even if you add the numbers, right? 666, it's 18. 18 becomes 9. But 9, 18, 27, what do these numbers mean? They refer to something. They refer to the initiated and the non-initiated person on one level. 666 was in the Bible, we find it, and it refers to the number of man, basically. It's a human number, remember? I've gone into the meaning of that as well. Or the swastika, the double-headed eagle. You're finding it all over the place, especially in the purveyance of alcohol and tobacco and these companies, because these are the old pirates, the old scions of these royal figures. The Nike logo has been exposed clearly as being connected to Saturn. And that's a huge story of what Saturn represents, Kronos, and how these symbols, the effect that they have and the meaning that they have. The skull and bones, here we have Stephen King. I mean, that's hardly a natural pose to be in, so what's being told to us here? And also drawing on tarot and astrology, you'd find it in the most bizarre places. Sometimes it's accident, sometimes it's not. But they identify, this is a fusion, a constant fusion between archetype and stereotype. This is how the things of the world get their meaning, get to be attractive to the human mind. If we just believe what's on the surface, well then, that's it. That's ignorance. Here's the poster for the Euro 26. And we notice how similar that is to the effigy of the god Moloch, which some researchers have identified as a secret society emblem, that could be found at the Bohemian Grove and places like that. The fact that it has a bull's head is nothing evil, it's just that these cults come from the age of Taurus. They're astrologically based. Don't forget about the concept of the female again, and the associations of different houses of the zodiac is involved in this. Turn the symbols around, flip them over, rearrange them. Here's a good example. What most people would think is just the ice cream company heart. If you just flip it round, it becomes 33, which is the highest degrees in Freemasonry. So it's just, I'm not saying anything about this company specifically, I'm just saying, let's examine examples of these companies to see if there's any hidden meanings and so on. I brought out in 2006 the idea of this tear or claw mark, and now suddenly you have this company coming out afterwards that literally is making it very clear that that's the case. But the interesting thing about this particular company is that particular rip corresponds with Va, the Hebrew letter, which corresponds with the number 6. So those 3 tears is actually 666. This is just the way they do it, the way they play. There's the Hebrew letter there. You're reading backwards. Aleph, Beth, Gimel is A, B, C, D. See? We get the word alive from the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph. It also means breath. You're alive because you breathe. You see, that's the number associated. Bet or Beith means house, so that's connected to the pyramid, the second letter. Gimel is translated in English as camel. The symbol of that letter is a little camel, where you have Camel cigarettes. And that can either be a C or a G. We could go. We have a time we could go through all of this amazing stuff. Dalet is the Greek Daleth or Delta, which is the pyramid, which is the triangle. You see, connecting to the female mysteries, and how that turns out the symbolism. He, being the symbol of the male. You could go through all of these. It's really interesting. Samek down there. That's where our word stomach comes from.